This is Focus on Your Health. It's brought to you by Kingman Regional Medical Center in historic Kingman, Arizona. I'm TG Lafredo, and this week on the program, it's the Best of 2025, Part 2. I said this last time, but it's worth repeating. It is my honor and privilege to bring you news, stories, and perspectives on health and medicine, all from right here in Mojave County. I have been producing Focus on Your Health for over 13 years, and these conversations mean as much to me now as they did way back then. In fact, maybe they mean more. In August, we aired my conversation with Dr. Craig Ono. He's an orthopedic surgeon, and just this summer he joined the team at Kingman Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Dr. Ono has an extensive resume, including years of service as an Army surgeon, both at home and abroad.
Being part of the military, that's the reason why I ended up going to a variety of different places. We spent time in Hawaii. I was assigned back to RRR Medical Center after I completed my fellowship and was chief of their sports medicine service and then part of their pediatric orthopedic surgery service. And then I went to Korea for a couple of years, ended up in Fort Lewis, where I commanded what's called a forward surgical team. Forward surgical team is a team of 20 healthcare professionals that deploy. They deploy to brigade support areas, which is in a forward operating base type of position. So we bring the acute or the advanced trauma life support type services to the wounded soldiers at those locations forward of the line. So again, a very interesting time doing that, and that's how we ended up in Macedonia. Macedonia with duty up in Kosovo. So during that period of time of the Balkan War and stuff. So did that and then got out of the service, and that transitioned me back to pediatric orthopedics because I was offered a position at the Shriners Hospitals for Children then. And that was a very interesting time. Spent over 20 years there, but also spent more years in the reserve. And that's how I got deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan after that. All part of forward surgical team type missions.
Yeah. Well, so I think we're going to spend the most time on the pediatric aspect of what you do. Mm-hmm. But before we move on to that, I have to ask you a little bit about the military circumstances. Well, first off, thank you for your service. It sounds like a really challenging, when you're describing it, and the intense trauma that you probably saw working in those circumstances, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was very challenging. There was never a down day. We always had someone to take care of, and high level of trauma. And then in my first deployment to Afghanistan, we were in a situation where children were also getting injured. So, and we had the freedom to take care of those children. So they allowed us to take care of injured children in our area of operations. And so we did that. So I did fracture management as well as penetrating wounds for these children. And then we took care of them and then referred them on to the children's hospitals in Afghanistan for further care.
This is probably a personal question. If you want to skip it, we can.
Sure.
But I'm curious. I have a few friends who served overseas, and like one in particular did 2 tours in Afghanistan, a dear friend of mine. And it's interesting because now he's out, and when I talk to him about it, he's ambivalent about those times. He's proud of what he's done, but he also doesn't want to talk about it and has real mixed feelings. I said to him at one point, if your son wanted to go into the service, what would you say? And he was just like, just a long pause and really had to think about it. Do you go ahead, take over.
It's a challenging time.
Yeah.
It's a challenging time, but I tell you, it's very worthwhile. And the reason is that you're part of a great team. You're not alone. You're well-resourced. The mission is clear. And you have an opportunity to do a great deal of good. There are, as part of the Army Reserve, so the Army Reserve, if you're an orthopedic surgeon, you're typically working a civilian job, and then you deploy from anywhere from 3 to 6 months. So they send you to these combat zones for about 3 to 6 months, and you volunteer to be part of the Army Reserve, and nobody has shirked the responsibility of deploying. I have found very few individuals that say, no, I'm not going. I'd rather get out of the service instead of going. And we see a number of repeat volunteers to do that. And that's because the strength of the team there in the 4 deployed areas is very strong. It's a great organization. The military was a great organization to work with, and the people are just great. They're mission focused. Now, certainly, there's a certain amount of trauma that we all experience with doing these. We see things and we experience things that we'd rather not. But for the most part, if you can walk away and say, I did good, then that's all worthwhile. It's very hard to come back. And that's probably where the ambivalence comes in. When you come back, you end up landing at a civilian airport. For us, we landed in Atlanta. And so you land in Atlanta, you're in uniform, you land in Atlanta, there's all this people moving back and forth, and they just don't have an understanding. There's a lot of thank you for your service type talk, but they don't quite understand what's going on there, and as far as the intensity of service. So the reentry, it can be very, very difficult.
The thank yous kind of ring hollow.
It can, because you hear it so much.
Well, and because military is so much a game of political football, right?
Right.
You guys are doing the actual work, and there are people on the sidelines who would not do those jobs, but sure have a lot of influence on what you're doing.
Yeah. So that's the reason why I think most of us who come back, we do tend to compartmentalize the experience.
Yeah.
Where they'll probably be open about it as far as what they experience and things, but for the most part, it's very hard to communicate how you're feeling and what you went through.
Working that close to the front lines, did you and the medical team find yourselves in immediate danger on occasion?
Yeah, we worked in areas that were subject to rockets, mortars.
Oh.
They come in. There was one, so we work on forward operating bases, and there was one forward operating base that was penetrated by those not friendly to us. And then, combat came into the forward operating bases at times.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you also feel very well protected by the soldiers. Yeah. And these are soldiers that are teenagers.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, it's 18 to 24 years old,
And the older you get, the crazier it seems, right?
Yeah. And but they do a very good job because the Army has a very professional attitude.
That's Dr. Craig Ono on his years as an Army surgeon. The past year of interviews wasn't all serious business. In July, we aired my conversation with several members of the hospital board. In the following clip, Carol King looks back on some creative fundraising efforts.
My husband and I were approached by Beverly Machaca, who was a longtime nurse here, and she asked if we would do something to help the hospital. And so we furnished a room that was a compassion room for families that had a member that was terminal. And they could just stay in the room, and it had a refrigerator in it, and it was fixed up real nice for the family. Then years passed, and we started talking about having a hospice house. And then I was invited to join the foundation. And the hospice house still kept coming up in conversations. And we decided to have a fundraiser on the roof of Taco Bell.
On the roof.
Yes, and it was so much fun. We had a pail, a bucket, with ropes, and we had some volunteer firemen helping us. And when people pulled up to the drive-thru, we put the pail down and asked them for their change. And that's how we started raising funds.
Wow.
And it was a riot, and we were there all day through the night. Poor Brian Turney, who was the CEO at the time, every time he saw us, we'd have a different idea. One of them, we went to him and we said, Brian, they owned the Wendy's across the street, and it was vacant. And we said, Brian, we have an idea. Let's get the firemen to help us, and let's blow up the Wendy's and sell the bricks. He didn't like that idea very much. It never materialized. But we thought it was a great idea at the time. And so I've just been really passionate about building a hospice house. And when it came possible, it was just a dream come true to me.
If you're just joining us, this is Focus on Your Health. I'm T.G. Lafredo, and this week on the program, it's the Best of 2025, Part 2. In November, we aired my conversation with several KRMC volunteers. I wanted to know what compels them to volunteer and what serving others means to them. Here's Michael Fulham on the importance of donating blood and his own background in radio. Michael Fulham, you are a KRMC volunteer. You also have a history in radio, so I think you've been itching to do some talking. Let's hear that presenter voice.
The presenter voice, it's just the same as my regular voice, isn't it? I always sound the same.
But I want to ask, what is your history in radio?
I worked radio as a disc jockey initially, and then moved on to news, and then moved from radio news to television news, ultimately, before coming to Kingman and finding my current calling at Kingman Regional Medical Center.
And how long have you volunteered here at KRMC?
8 years.
We've talked about how there is a range of positions for volunteers at KRMC. The one that I think is dearest to you is that you coordinate blood drives. Is that right?
That is correct,
Can you tell me about that work?
Well, KRMC Volunteer Services hosts quarterly blood drives at the main campus, and we also now are hosting blood drives at our other campus on the months that we're free. So we're doing 12 days of blood drives every year.
Help listeners get the sense of the importance of blood drives, the need for that in the community.
About 1 in 7 people who come to the hospital, and people really need to wrap their head around this because it's very important. About 1 in 7 people need blood. We're talking about accident victims, surgery patients, cancer patients, even pediatric patients. And at Kingman Regional Medical Center, as with any hospital, our blood supply comes from the people who have donated it. It's not something you can make in a lab. If someone needs a transfusion, it comes from the blood that's already been donated. And so when you give blood, you give someone another chance at life. KRMC does not purchase blood or blood plasma or any blood products from individuals. This is a donation thing. It's one of the best gifts, though, that you can give. It's just so incredible.
What is the best way for the community to keep up with the dates and times and locations for upcoming blood drives?
All of our blood drive information is on our website at azkrmc.com under the community tab. You can also, we have a special place where folks who are interested can go and actually make an appointment, and that's at vitalent.org/KRMC.
Vitalent.org/KRMC. Michael, you've done this before.
I have indeed.
You said you have volunteered here for 8 years. What do you get from this experience?
It's just really a wonderful feeling of community, of doing something with other people. It's all of us together. On the day of the drive, there are about 4 volunteers who come and help register the donors and sit with me in the location where the blood drive is taking place. And together, a number of our volunteers regularly donate blood. It's an effort by all of us.
That was Michael Fulham, a KRMC volunteer. If you'd like more information on volunteering at KRMC, you can find an application on the hospital's website. Visit azkrmc.com and look under Community, or just stop by the Gift Boutique at the main hospital campus. That brings us to Dr. Ken Jackson. I've interviewed Dr. Jackson so many times over the years. He's always made time to talk, to field my questions, personal and intrusive though they may be. This year, after 50 years in medicine and delivering some 6,000 babies, he decided it was time to retire. It seems only right to wrap up 2025 with Dr. Jackson's thoughts on AI in medicine, training the next generation of docs, and what he will miss now that he's retiring. I wanted to share this with you. You're a sports fan. You'll appreciate this. Last night, I was doing a little bit of research on this baseball season, and I was trying to figure out which team has committed the most defensive errors this season. Okay? And so Google AI gave me this response, and I quote, "The Texas Rangers had, past tense, had the most errors in MLB during the 2025 regular season, with 3,518. They also led in errors per game with 0.32. It's absurd. It's utterly absurd. Okay?
Totally impossible, unsustainable. How many? They had 3,000 something errors.
According to Google AI, the Rangers have committed, in about 100 games this season, they have committed 3,518. But they have led the league in errors per game with 0.32. So if you're doing the math, what that means is they have played 10,993 games this year. No wonder they're committing all these errors. They're exhausted.
That is a real swing and miss by AI.
Now, I am not opposed. I think technology is interesting. Sometimes it's wonderful. Sometimes it's a disaster. In truth, the Rangers have committed 30 errors. The team has committed 30 errors this season.
There you go with the points. That's the point. If it's 100 games, there you are. You're at the 0.3.
But
right?
AI told me 3,518. So I'm just saying, while this makes for kind of a funny bit on the radio, they were off by 1,000 times the actual number. So if you're talking about medical dosing, that does kind of make a difference. My point is,
I'll say,
you and Dr. Malik were talking about AI and how it gets integrated and where the spots are that the physicians are still doing that old doctor work. I'm not quite ready to hand over my health and well-being to AI.
I think it's basically that information is there and it's still necessary for you to filter it.
You sure hope that you'll have somebody intelligent enough to say, wait a minute, I think this is about 1,000 times too much.
That one there is obviously really obvious.
Yeah, right.
That's an overwhelming error. Yeah, but some of them will be. I'm just looking at other like certain standards or things like that to help me interact with the patients.
Yeah, it's fun, by the way, that all had to do with errors. As you think of the next generation of doctors, what is a piece of advice, or maybe a couple of pieces of advice, that you would like to give to them?
If I have any advice, it's number one, work hard. Number two is be prepared to take risk. And number three was embrace your mistakes and failures, because that's what will ultimately define you and your success. I can't say even teach these people that much that come through here. I let them deliver babies and they're in with me on all these patients and we'll go through some stuff, but it's not like I'm sitting there didactically.
Yeah.
If I'm doing anything for them, I'm just showing how I, behave and perform. And what they get is the way I treat people and interact or relate to people, one patient after the other.
Well, I mean, in many ways, right, medicine can be so difficult with colleagues, with problematic patients, with insurance companies, with hospital politics, all of that, right? And I asked for your advice, and it's not about medical stuff. It's about interpersonal stuff. Like you gave advice just now that you could give to anyone. It wouldn't have to be a young doctor.
It's totally, to me, it's the things that I will miss here. I will miss the learning part. And that's one thing I really liked about the residents. I just get them to look up stuff for me. And then we'd talk about it.
Yeah.
It'd be something going on and there'd be something that says, I think it's this, but let's look it up and we'll talk about it.
It's good to have lackeys.
Yeah, I used them for that. I'll miss that. And I'll certainly miss those. I think I've said before, those feelings that I would have at 3:00 in the morning, driving home after delivery where I feel worthy and relevant.
Last night, I went upstairs and I said to my wife, tomorrow I'm talking with Dr. Jackson. What would you like to ask him? And she said, without even thinking about it, she said, what will he miss? What will he not miss? And so those are her questions. And I said, well, he won't miss getting this. I swear to you, this is what I said. He won't miss getting the phone call at 3 a.m. And she said, I don't know. He might.
I won't. I've had too many of them. I mean,
You're good on that.
I was on call. I was on call Monday night, and I had a girl that I just inherited Monday morning. She was hypertensive, and they were inducing her, and she was 37 weeks and had a long way to go. And so I took her through the day, took her through the night. Probably had at least 10 phone calls about her.
No.
And got a few hours sleeping, but came in on Tuesday morning and got a really nice vaginal delivery out of her. But I have the thought is, it's always the same. It's Monday night, it's an on-call night, and it's pushing midnight, and you're thinking, what am I doing to myself? What have I gotten into?
So you won't miss.
So I will not miss that. I will miss miss the interactions with, my remaining partner here, Taylor. I'll really miss the interactions with him. He's always been there for me, and we have this camaraderie of taking on difficult things.
Yeah, in the trenches, right?
In the trenches, and the same way with the labor and delivery nurses, and my MAs that I've had, but my MA I have now. I'll miss those relationships, and certainly miss the relationships with the patients that come in and say, that I'm saying goodbye to them or have been saying goodbye to them. And I was in radiology today, and I ran into a girl, and I've told you her story before. I ran into her, and we hugged, and then we hugged again, and one of the radiologists says, "You know her? How do you know her?" And she's the girl that came to me. I took care of her. She got preeclamptic at 22 weeks. I sent her to Phoenix. They kept the baby in another week or two, delivered her, and the baby died after 16 days. And then I saw her 2 more times and got her, and got 2 babies. Did 2 more C-sections on her. They wanted down there. Got 2 more good babies on her.
Yeah.
And then, and she somehow saw that podcast and made a comment somewhere that I saw. And this was just been in the last month. And she says, this guy has seen the worst of me and seen the best of me. I get kind of worked up over that. And she says, I owe my family to him. Because I said, we'll get it. I said, hang in. Because she came back and she had one dead baby. And I said, well, we'll get this.
Those are 2 of the 6,000 babies you've delivered. Even though you're getting the cards and you're getting the hugs and the phone calls, you still can't know all the lives you touched.
I have no idea, and I've forgotten so many things. I know those people remember me better than I remember. Some of them just stand out that you never forget.
And that is another episode and another year of Focus on Your Health. Before we go, I'd like to take a moment to thank the folks who make this program possible all year long. Thank you to the doctors, nurses, administrators, volunteers, and patients of Kingman Regional Medical Center. Thanks for sharing your wisdom, experience, and insight with our listeners and our community. Thanks to the team at KRMC Public Relations, Alan Poston, Adam Barnard, Sean De La Riva, Julia Walters-Kowalska, and Chris Bennett. Thanks to my friends at KNTR Talk and Radio Central, Tracy Greeley, Steve Greeley, and Paul Lavoie. Thanks to Steve Belleville, my friend and an awesome musician. He helped me refresh the bumper music this year. And thank you for listening. I'm grateful for your audience, and I look forward to bringing you Focus on Your Health in 2026. I'm T.G. Lafredo. Happy New Year.